My name is Reed Howard. I'm a professional golfer. I am TPI certified in both golf and power training, level 2. And we are going to be breaking down two of the best golf swings on tour. But the reason why I chose these two to kind of break down in front of you is they are very, very different. On the left, we have DJ. DJ's won 2 majors. God, I think he's won 24 PGA Tour events, 8 European Tour events. Very, very good golfer. On the right, by the way, DJ is about 6'4". On the right, we have Rory. He's about 5'8", 5'9". He's won 4 majors, 18 PGA Tour events, and a lot of European Tour events. I think like 14, 15 European Tour events. So both of these guys are well established. Obviously, DJ is the reigning Masters champion, so I'm going to start with him. We got 2 drivers down the line here, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to break down some of these swings and show you what these guys do really, really well. You'll see a lot of similarities, but you're going to see some key differences. Their ball flight is different, the way that they create speed is different, and so I wanted to show you these different ways, and then maybe you could find some fun things that will apply to you. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm going to just literally draw up a nice little plane line on both of them. Let's go over here to Rory. We're going to throw up a little plane line, so it should be good. And so let's get going here with DJ. Okay, so the first thing that you can see is that club is kind of bouncing up over that shaft line. Club almost looks as if it's a little bit closed coming back, if you can kind of see that. I don't mind that at all, but just wanted to kind of note it. To be honest, I don't mind either of these guys' golf swings. It's just completely different. As you're going to see, DJ has a lot less rotation in his club face. Rory has a lot more rotation in his club face. But it's actually interesting because they create similar speed. In some respects, Rory may even be more powerful than DJ is, even though he weighs probably 25 less pounds, 30 less pounds, and he's got, I think, 6 inches less. So Rory, in my opinion, is going to be a much more efficient power swing. And then DJ, because of his lack of face rotation. So if you can see as we're going back here, how shut that face is. Lead wrist starts to bow. That's kind of a key feature. Now let's go back with Rory. Right away, I want you to notice that club is substantially less closed than where DJ's is. So if we bring him to a similar position, you can just see that that club face is probably, it's not insanely more closed, but it's definitely substantial, 10 to 15 degrees more shut. And in some ways I almost love it because I think I like this move better because you can see that, you know, Rory, he's opening his club face relative to his spine angle. Whereas DJ is almost keeping that club face dead square relative to his spine angle. And so as we see, that wrist bows, and then he starts to come down, and then that club face is still quite closed. And as you can see, it's still quite closed, and it's still, you know, he's compressed his spine as he's coming down. So it's not exactly matching the way that it was coming back. But you can still see there's not very much face rotation. It's actually quite interesting when they put him on a 3D monitor. You just see there's very little face rotation happening. And when I say face rotation, I mean face rotation relative to his impact line. So his impact line is here. And we're going to get into why that's important in a few seconds once we get there. But relative to that, he has so little face rotation. It's rotating, but it's rotating slow. And now we're going to go with Rory, a very, very different golf swing. In some respects, a more powerful swing. Like I said, his build is very, very different from DJ's. DJ, you know, if you took, so like when you make the club longer, when you make the actual shaft longer, they say, oh, for every inch you're maybe gaining a mile, mile and a half of club head speed. Well, think about that. All of that is rotating around the lead shoulder. And so DJ's lead shoulder to club is probably 4 inches longer than Rory's. So the fact that Rory is creating as much speed as DJ, if not more, just shows how much more of efficient body he has and how much more efficient swing technique he has for creating speed. I'm not going to be really saying which swing is better because they both do what they do very, very well. Okay, so if we're going to compare him to DJ at the top, you can see that that club face is almost pointed straight up, right? Almost kind of getting a little out of hand here with the amount of lines, so to lose some of the confusion, I'll get it. But we are showing that club face is almost pointed directly straight up in the air, whereas you can see Rory's is much more of a regular swing where it's kind of, I mean, I guess they're both matching their lead wrist, right? But Rory doesn't have that massive bow in his wrist, whereas DJ, if you can see, has a serious bow. So the club face relative to his lead hand is actually staying very square, but he alters his lead hand by bowing that wrist, whereas Rory has a nice straight line here. It's very aesthetically pretty, but I'm going to go into why I actually think that bowed wrist is giving DJ a more stable face and therefore probably more consistency. Maybe less power relative to his body, but more consistency. So now as we come down, right away I want you to see how that club face is tracking a very different line. So let's get the impact line, first of all, just so you guys can see this, because this is very important when you're looking at a golf swing. Let's look at that impact line, and then let's see that club face relative. Okay, so let's get to DJ's impact line. We're getting there, we're getting there, we're getting there. Boom. Solid. Okay, so there's his impact line. And so let's go back and see how DJ is doing relative. So, looking at these two swings, not having seen these actual ball flights, but knowing these players and the way they tend to work the ball, it's very clear that Rory is hitting the ball from the inside of the ball, which, by the way, for smash factor purposes, a lot of the time will lead to a better smash factor, which is one reason why Rory might have a slightly more powerful golf swing relative to his body. And then you can see the club exits out to the right, which means Rory is probably hitting a solid little draw here. It's probably not insane, but a nice little draw here. And then we got DJ, that club face is coming right down that line. This ball is going to go straight, or as you can see, that club is almost inching under. So if anything, this is probably just a little pinch fade, which is very in line with what DJ does. I'm excited to show you the front on because I kind of want to show you the way they use their hips and another way that they both create so much power. But so you get DJ coming in with a closed club face, not much face rotation, and just holds that club face off and has a very straight on approach, hitting a little pinch fade if anything. And then you get Rory coming in, slinging it a little bit more to the inside over here. Club face is a lot more neutral and is rotating into the golf ball, and then exits out to the right. So Rory has a lot more face rotation going on, and he is creating more speed relative to his body, but he's hitting pretty much more of a high draw. And then you have DJ kind of holding that face off, and then hitting more of a pinch fade. Okay. So that is, I guess, their down the lines, and I kind of want to show you the way they use their hips. And to show you the way they use their hips more effectively, I'm going to go ahead and show you their front-ons. So we got DJ, here's his front-on right here. And then, let's do the front-on driver. Okay. So we got the front-on, and what I'm really excited to show you this front-on is I want to show you the things that they do that are similar, and I want to show you the things that are different. By the way, I'm sorry I should have said this. If you guys are watching this live and you want to leave some comments, please go ahead and leave some comments. I love responding. I love being able to answer any questions that you guys might have. Also, if you like the video, just to show me that you like these sorts of videos, I can make more videos like this. Just go ahead and give me a thumbs up. That way it kind of communicates to me that you guys like the video, and then maybe I can make more content like this. Okay, so here we are. First things first, I want you to see how well they rotate around stable center. You're going to see this a lot in a lot of great golfers, but I just want to kind of show you. There's his head. There's his head. There might be a little bit of rotation, which makes sense because rotation's power, and I'm not sure how steady these cameras are, but just look at how stable that rotation is. Now watch Rory. So this is where you're going to see, even though they have different builds, there's some fundamentals that almost all great players will have. And the reason why their head stays still, right, their eyes are attached to their head. And if you're moving your eyes all over the place, it is going to make your hand-eye coordination substantially worse. It's almost like juggling. The way I describe to students this, it's almost like juggling a golf ball, right? We can all probably juggle a golf ball. If you practice a little bit, you can learn to juggle a golf ball. But try to juggle a golf ball with your head moving, right? It's not that your hand is any worse, but your eyes are, your brain is using your eyes to tell your muscles what to do, right? So if your head is all over the place, it's really hard for your eyes to then go ahead and tell your muscles accurately where everything is. So your hand-eye coordination is going to be much better. One other analogy, and then I'm done with the analogies, I promise. If you're riding on horseback and you see the people doing the archery on horseback, right? If you're from a stable position, it's going to be a lot easier to hit that target. Whereas if you're moving on a horse or if you're on a car or whatever, if you're moving, it becomes substantially more difficult. So because your eyes are attached to your head, keeping a good stable head will literally just improve your hand-eye coordination, and therefore you'll make more of a solid strike. So if you really don't hit the ball solidly, the first thing you should look at is, are you keeping your head still? Are you rotating around a stable center? And so you can see DJ and Rory both take a giant rotation, but they're able to keep their head quite still, and that is why they're both very, very good ball strikers. Okay. So another thing that's really important, and I've talked to it if you guys have watched some of my old videos either on YouTube or on this golf.com Facebook, watch the hips, right? I want you to look at the hips, and we're going to look at the hips relative to the way the club is moving. Okay, so here we go. Look at that club where it is, right? I'm going to draw a line on it so you guys can really see this. So watch, as the club is going back, those hips are moving forward. So you see the club is moving back, and then you see how those hips are going into that line. So there's a lot of as the club is going back, they're moving into the ball, right? And so I'll kind of show you the way that DJ does this. And what I want you guys to almost see is they do have a lot of differences, right? They're built differently, they create power somewhat differently. But what you really, really want to do to improve your own game and to understand what are the key fundamentals is what do all these guys do that are the same, right? And you'll see this time and time again. So I'm going to draw a line up here, very similar to the way I did with Rory. And then watch this. As his club is still going back, so he's still rotating back with that upper body. You see those hips? Going forward, going forward. They're rotating. They're already rotating, and that club is just settling into his backswing. So now that club is finally moving. Look at, he's already been rotating for, 10 clicks now. He's been rotating for some time. So he's going down, and this is a way that is very common. I actually don't create power this way with a massive jump, but here we are. Do you see how DJ is lowering into the ball? So I can show you right here. There you go. Lowering into the ball, right? So there's a rotation, and that lower body and upper body is crunching. And what it's getting ready for is it's getting ready for a vertical push, right? And so we're going to go ahead and look at Rory here. And I'm going to do the same exact thing so you can see that this is a very common way to create power. So I don't love this move because only very, very skilled athletes can do it very consistently. But I want to show you, there's the same thing. Crunch. You see how he's lowered? And they've actually lowered a very similar amount. And so you see how there's a nice bend in that lead leg. And the reason they're doing that is they're crunching. And then when they get down to about here, you can just do a nice vertical jump. Now, neither of these guys do it as aggressively as Justin Thomas does it. Maybe in the future I'll analyze that. But then now here's that vertical jump. You can see it, right? It's posting up on that lead leg. And that vertical jump creates like a little extra power that is transferred from the lower body into the arms that eventually gets to increasing the club head speed. And then there's impact. So as you can see, DJ has a very strong address position with that lead hand. And so he has a little bit more of a hold-off move, if you can kind of see this. See, if I go up that shaft, it's not pointing at the lead, at the lead arm. Whereas I imagine Rory is going to be more fully released, right at impact. It's ahead, but nowhere near to the degree that DJ's is. And that is because, honestly, DJ doesn't create as much speed relative to his body as Rory does. And so that's kind of, he has the ability to hold that off a little bit, so he's losing a little bit of speed by doing that, but he's controlling the club face a little bit more. There's a lot less club face rotation that DJ does relative to Rory. So now we're going through, and by the way, you can of course see it's a slightly more aggressive move. So look at that bent lead knee, if you guys can take a look at this right here. And then we go through and watch it snap up. And it's just to create a little bit of extra momentum in that golf swing. So here we go, he's going through. You can see that lift, you can see the pants. Tee is flying, but those pants are actually kind of jolting up because he has a very aggressive vertical press. And then they come through. Guys, honestly, both of these guys have wonderful, and you can see the hold off here. You can see the hold off of that club face. Both of these guys have wonderful golf swings. It's really nice to admire the things that they do differently, and what I think is important whenever you're analyzing very, very good golf swings is finding the keys that they do similarly. They both rotate around a very stable center. They both create power the same way in the way that they lower and then snap up. There's some good things to take away from both of these swings, and they are very different swings, but have been both extremely effective on the PGA Tour. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Once again, if you guys have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave them, and then after the fact, I will go ahead and answer your comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys are improving your golf games. All right, have a good one.